life had to go on. That's the horrible reality of losing someone. Life doesn't stop. Life has to go on. And one thing I had to keep telling myself is that Kefa's death was not meant to destroy us. We will make it. And God knows what the future looks like for us.
Welcome again, Sister Christine.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, now in part 1, we left it in a place that you did not know how to move forward. For those who missed episode 1, please go back to episode 1 and we'll continue the journey with Christine Wangui Oduor and talking about her husband, her late husband, Pt2 Oduor, or Oduor Thuo.
Mm-hmm.
This man of God left her young family as a new immigrant to a new country due to cancer. And now we are just hearing about the resilience of the family, the suffering, the agony of losing a loved one, and how they are continuing their journey to inspire us, our friend. If you are going through the same thing, or you know of someone who is going through the same thing, please share this message, and we hope that you will be encouraged. Thank you so much again, Sister Christine, for sharing this with us and for just deciding to open up so somebody else who is going through this can understand how, because not many people can relate to this, but we know we are all candidates. When our time comes, as a brother Kefa said, life is like a bus. You're in a bus, your time for exit is different, your destination is different from someone else, and God is the driver of this bus. So tell us, how is the journey going now and the impact that you're making, or what it is that you're doing with yourself to honor the grief that you're going through. I don't know if I should put it that. Yeah, it's to cope with the grief that you're doing and to honor the memories of your husband.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's not been very easy living without Kefa. And he made a very big impact in our lives and the lives of many. One thing, and you've talked about it, is that this book, My Life, My Legacy, Turning the Unexpected into a Lifetime of Cherished Memories, was Kefa's dream before he passed. And he wanted to document his life. In fact, in his foreword, he says, each man's life is a collection of stories. Some of those stories are positive, bringing us joy and laughter. But some of those stories are painful and they're cruel, giving us a twinge of discomfort. And that's what Kefa shares with us in this book. That collection of his stories, the legacy that he has left behind. He started writing this book when he was going into hospice. And of course, we had to rally our efforts to support him because his left side was very weak and so he couldn't type very fast. But myself and a few friends came together to help him kind of put the structure in place and do everything. And one thing that really struck us was Kefa kept saying he wants the book published before Christmas. And we couldn't understand what was the pressure. Like, why before Christmas? And so we tried our best. Some of our friends who are authors and writers, they know the process on publishing. So they said, well, we'll do our best, but then, we may be able to have an ebook, but publishing something hard copy might have to wait until the new year because people are shutting down for Christmas. This was towards October, November. And so the manuscript was not even all done. And so by the time it was getting done, it was towards the end of November. So they said, we can publish it easier as an ebook, but then do the hard copy in the new year. And Kefa settled for that. So we had the first manuscript published on Kobo as an ebook, and he was very happy about that. That gave him some peace. Of course, he still wanted the hard copy, but funny thing is, a week before Christmas, Kefa passed. And he had at least gotten to see the book published. That gave him such a sense of peace. But I was like, did he know something that it has been done before Christmas? Anyway, only God knows that. But to honor him and his dream, I knew he wanted it published as a hard copy. So after we buried him in Kenya. When we came back, I took on the project of trying to make sure this book is published. I got some friends to help me, and I got a publisher, and we started the process of cleaning it up and finalizing the manuscript. So I ended up writing the last chapter of the book and just talking about how Kefa passed, and just, honoring that, just the way he was honored in life and also honored in death. And that's what I did on the last chapter of the book, and got it published. And a year after, I think it was a year or 2 years after, we got it published on his second anniversary, which brought so much comfort and so much healing for us. Writing is one of those things that helps in the process of grief. And that for me is what helped me in my healing, just writing through this book and writing my own journal and writing my own story. That helped me. So having this published on his second anniversary was just a way of saying, Kefa, we honor you, we honor your legacy, and this is something that the children will have, and our children's children, by God's grace, and generations, and anyone else who Kefa's life touched has this as a way of honoring him. You will notice that the book has lots of pictures.
Yes, you guys love pictures, and it's such a good book. It's a beautiful book. It's beautifully written, and it's so easy to read. And friends, you're my friend. I'm in this book too. So, but yeah, besides that, there's a lot of life lessons here. As hard as it is, as we have mentioned, the journey of Sister Christine, and being a new immigrant with her family, young family, and you can hear they left a lot behind. They were starting from scratch and moving forward. It will be an encouragement, even if you don't have a loss or you have not lost a loved one. It's just a guide to show you how marriages can work, how you can treat your spouse, how you can trust God against all odds, and even those tough decisions that you have to make in life. There's a lot about that in here. And before we close the show, we will ask Sister Christine for contacts on how you can get it on Amazon. And it's a beautiful book. I'm just going to put it here. It's My Life, My Legacy by Pt2. And it's a beautiful book. I'm just going to leave it there. So Christine, we know also you said you graduated, and the life has to continue, because that is how I know Kefa wanted you to do, and that's what God requires you to do, because as you mentioned in the previous, it's not your time yet. So when we are here, we have to plant seeds. How are you planting your seeds? Because we know you graduated, and we know you've been doing a great work. I've heard from few sources the work that you have been doing. Can you please tell our friends what you have been up to?
Okay. So the graduation I had in 2017 was for a 2-year program I did in Medicine Hat, and it was for child and youth care counseling. I still wanted to do my master's. So that was not a master's program. For me to do my master's program, I'd had to have finished with that and got some paperwork in order. And so after Kefa passed, of course we were confused. I don't want to say confused, we were disoriented. Let me put it that way. Because like I said, this was not in our plan. And so it forced us to go back to, or rather forced me now to go back to the drawing board and see what's life going to look like around my career, around our stay here in Canada, and, just so many things that were there was a lot of uncertainty, but I just knew that the kids had to get through school. And I also wanted to get through school. So when my son moved to the university here in Calgary, I said, we'll have to move with him. I just felt like I could not live in Medicine Hat and have him here in Calgary alone. We needed to be together to support one another. It was not even a year since Kefa had passed. So I left my job and I had started working. So I left my job and moved to Calgary to be with, so that we could all be together. And that way we were able to process our grief as a family. The boys had each other because we only have 2 boys, so they needed each other as siblings. And I needed to keep an eye on them just to make sure that they are getting through okay. Kids sometimes, it's not very easy to tell. Their grief is not manifested in the typical ways we know. And so I just wanted to be close to monitor if, how they were coping and just help them through the grief period. And so we did things together as a family. Coming together allowed us to do things as a family in a way that we could process this grief together and support one another, because life had to go on. That's the horrible reality of losing someone. Life doesn't stop. Life has to go on. And one thing I had to keep telling myself is that Kefa's death was not meant to destroy us. We will make it. And God knows what the future looks like for us. And so, armed with that, I went back to school in 2020. I began my master's in counseling psychology, which I'm just about to finish.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, and in the process, I also did a lot of my own grief work. So I did some courses on grief, and I did a class on grief as well through the church. It's called Grief Share. It's at I think about an 11-week class thereabout. And then we did our own counseling as a family and individually, so that we can just, we can process that grief and get all the help that we needed. So as I began to feel better and stronger towards the end of, at the beginning of last year and sometime the beginning of this year, I felt I needed to also reach out and help other people going through grief. I would want to offer that knowledge that I have through my, my professional background and just what has worked for me in terms of my own recovery.
Yes.
And so God kind of gave me this idea, but I felt like this is what I want to do as well. And I started what is called Master Your Grief. It is a ministry, but it's also a transformational experience, which takes people going through grief through a process of rest, recovery, and rest, rebuilding, recovery, and growth. Okay, and this was also birthed out of, the fact that I also did a course in life coaching, and so my desire was to help people go through grief in a way that can bring that transformation from helplessness and hopelessness to strength, to hope, and to life.
Yes.
which is what God intends for us. Because what helped me a lot was what I read in Isaiah chapter 61, where God himself says he wants us well. He doesn't want us broken in grief and staying there. He knows that we are in grief and he cares. So he says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted.
Amen.
That for me was just my turning point, that he understands that I'm broken, but he's not leaving me in my broken state. He wants to bind me up. He wants to bind the boys up. And that's what God does. That's what God will do for you. If you are broken today, you're going through any kind of grief. It doesn't have to be the loss of a loved one. It could be any type of grief. And you feel broken. The Lord wants to heal your broken heart. He says he heals the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. That's what God thrives on. He comes right in and he starts patching up all those broken pieces. And he says, in Isaiah, he continues to say, the Spirit of the Lord has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to provide, to comfort all those who mourn, to provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair.
Amen.
Grief is one of those things that brings so much despair. Like you can literally die and you're still alive.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Most people, some people think that maybe facing grief face on the way you did. Like you walked through the fire, Sister Christine, you walked through the fire and then you came out of the other side and now you're carrying these buckets of water to put off the fires for other people. That's very admirable. That
is humbling.
very, very humbling at the same time. And it's very, we just thank God for this, for what you are doing with the grief counseling. I've had few people who, because I recommend grief counseling, I've been there in some grief. I've had a few losses of loved ones, and I know grief counseling helps. And it is good that you are doing that because you have been there. You've been there, because that's a very hard topic to tackle for anyone, because sometimes you have your spouse at home, you think they understand, they don't understand, your friends don't understand. So friend, if you're going through grief, someone like Christine, a professional counselor, is somebody you can contact, and they can help you to process the grief. She has been there, she's experienced. Apart from that, she has a professional side of it, and it's just a blessing to have a woman of God to walk through with you on this. That being said, friend, you don't have to be a Christian to have grief counseling. It's not about religion. It's not about any of that. It's about being human, and we are all children of God. And this life, that's one thing that is inevitable. So it's good you say that Kepha's passing was not supposed to destroy you, because we have seen many families who have been crushed and destroyed, and things just go haywire in families because one person passed away. It doesn't matter who it is. That speaks volume, because most people don't know how to deal with that. They think they relive that. They relive the passing of that person, and everything else around them is being shared. What would you say to a person like that?
I would say, one, don't walk alone, right? Grief can be a very lonely journey, depending on who has passed in your life, it's not always very easy to cope with it, with the loss itself. And some of those are what we call secondary losses that come as a result of that person leaving. But don't walk alone. And I would say open yourself up to the supports that are around you. You don't, even if you're not able to go into and see like a professional counselor, there are other resources that are available to support people in grief. There are grief support groups. There are grief classes, right? There are grief mentors. I got myself a grief mentor when I moved to Calgary because I have known the value of having a mentor in my life. We had a couple, a marriage mentor couple, and we were also mentors to young couples as a couple when we got married. And so when I came into this space of grief, I said I can also take advantage of those who have gone before me and learn from them. What have they done well in their grief to help them cope and to help them recover and find life again. And so I got a grief mentor. I got connected to a small group of widows and widowers, and that has helped. So don't walk alone. That's what I would say. Don't walk alone. Find those people who have done well in grief and have kind of successfully gone through it. Connect with them so that you find that hope and that support that you need. People who can understand what it is when you're struggling with your children as a single parent now, and you just don't know what to do. And talking to those people, they will hear you and help you, you know. My mom, I said, my mom was widowed at 25, and she has been a role model for me and a strong pillar. She has continued to encourage me and reassure me that God is with me, He will not leave me. So connect with people, because sometimes on your own, you might not have that inner strength. But through people who care and people who love you, you can get that strength. If you don't have those family members, reach out to people who are doing that work. Don't walk alone. That's what I would say. Okay. Don't walk alone.
Yeah, that is good to know. Friend, please, you have had Sister Christine, always share your burden with others. It makes it lighter to share. And now, Christine, before we close, what are the lessons you've learned so far that you say through all this journey that you have taken? And it has taken many, many turns, unpredictable turns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely one is just learn to be comfortable with uncertainty. Because life, and especially when you face such a significant life event like the loss of a loved one, life can feel very uncertain. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. I have no idea what next year looks like. But I have learned to be comfortable with that uncertainty and know that it's going to work out for my good. That is one. And I've also seen that we can grow out of pain and become something very, very, something beautiful can come out of it. Let me put it that way. Something beautiful can come out of. Yes, when God says beautiful ashes, He means it.
Yes.
You know, I never thought I would have a smile on my face again. Never thought I'd have a smile on my face again. And that, never even thought that I would even be able to reach out and help people in the same journey and in different ways. I mean, I don't want to say I can only help people who are going through grief through the loss of someone. There are people who are going through challenges in maybe they've made a life transition that did not go very well, and you feel stuck and lost, there is help. And that's what we come in. I come in to do, because I know what it means to be in that dark tunnel and not see the light at the end of the tunnel, but still hang in there and know that, yes, there will be light. So those are some of the lessons, and just knowing that I'm not alone. I have God now as my, he says he's a father to the fatherless and a husband to the widow. He is everything that I need. That for me has kept me going. And so when I face challenges, I just go back to him and say, this is what I'm going through, and he helps me, and he has helped. And this is the thing also that has also helped me. God has come alongside me and partnered with me, or is it I'm partnering with him? I think I'm partnering more with him, because for me and everyone is different based on your faith and your spirituality. But for me, this is what has worked for me. As far as my faith and my spirituality, it has been my foundation. And so doing life with that guidance from God has helped me, and knowing that I don't have to parent my children alone. He's with me. He gives me ideas on what my kids need. And I discuss it with them, and even when they're against it, and I just give them time, and I know he says in his word that he will teach our children, and great will be their peace. So I may say something, especially when you're dealing with teenagers and now young adults. You can only do so much in their lives. You can't make them do what you want to do, but you can speak. But I trust God to be their teacher.
Yes.
And he teaches them, and he helps them. He says that and then this is another verse that also helped me. He says he watches over the foreigner and the widow and the fatherless to provide for them. So I felt like even as a new immigrant, he's watching over me as a foreigner in this country.
Yes.
And he's watching over our children.
Yes.
And as for single parents, I will speak to single parents out there. You're not alone, and you don't have to do this alone. If you believe in God, he's there. He will help you carry those children. He says children are a heritage from him. It is him who has given them to us. We're just stewards of these children. And one verse that also helped me a lot and just gave me so much peace around parenting these children on my own is a verse from Jeremiah 49. He says, "Leave the fatherless children to me. I will keep them alive."
Amen.
And I said, where was this verse? I've never heard of this verse. Like, this verse just set me free, because I felt like I can't handle these kids on my own. And they were, and they are, I mean, my boys are good. They are pretty good. But parenting can be a challenge when you're even two
it's
parents.
not easy.
And so when you're on your own, it just feels like this huge mountain. And for me, in my grief, it felt like this huge mountain. And so when he said, "Leave the fatherless children," it doesn't mean that I'm abdicating my responsibility. It just means that he can do what I cannot do.
He has your back.
He has my back. And I have seen him carry my boys in a way that I could never have done on my own. And that continues to give me hope. So those are some of the lessons I've learned. And just knowing that it's okay to go through these things in life. It has helped me look at death in a different way. Obviously, as I said, I was in denial. And as I think about what could I have done differently around that death, I don't know whether talking about it would have helped if we did talk about it. We talked about it, but not like, okay, you're going, let's say goodbye. No. It was like, okay, it can happen. Let's get our paperwork in order, but you're not going anywhere. you know. But I thank God that even in my denial, he was there. He was patient with me. And Kefa waited for us to be there the day he was passing. That for me was my biggest comfort. It was a hard day. And Terry, you came. Terry, you came. You came from Calgary to be with us the day we were told he was in his dying stages. And it was difficult to leave the hospice that night because we didn't know whether he would go that night. They couldn't even tell us. And the next morning, I left that hospice wondering, should I even be going home? What should I do? But I needed some rest for the night so that I could be there with him the whole day. And I opted to go home. And I woke up early because this was my routine. I would wake up early. I would leave the hospice late, pray over him, kiss him goodnight. And that particular night I said, Kefa, I'll see you in the morning. Don't go anywhere. And in the morning I got there, he was still very sedated, and I helped shave his beards and get him cleaned up. And family had sent all these nice verses, and not just messages, which I was playing for him on the phone. And of course, the kids were to come, and you were bringing the kids home. You were bringing the kids because you were home, right? And just after we had cleaned him up and gotten ready and playing these messages for him, he started kind of struggling to breathe. And just then you walked in with the kids. And with the boys there, we were able to say, we didn't say goodbye, but we watched him take his last breath. It was hard. We didn't want him to go. We never said goodbye, like in that sense. But we were just, for me, that was Kefa's way of saying goodbye to us. And just the fact that he waited for us to come, and we were all there with him. I don't know what I would have done if he left when I was not there. Like if he left in the middle of the night and I was home, I think I would have been so guilty. But I just felt like Kefa waited for us.
Yes.
And so it's a difficult thing watching someone die. Those memories are very strong. They're things we relive, and it has been traumatic for the boys and us, but it was still beautiful that we were able to be there with him and say goodbye to him in that sense, even though it was not a goodbye, but we were able to be there with him.
Yeah, that was sad. That was hard.
Mm-hmm.
That was
But thank you, Terry, for coming, because you brought the boys that morning, and I'll never forget that.
It's God's will.
Yeah.
It's not me. God sometimes puts you in situation and places you don't know why.
Yeah.
And I didn't choose to be there, but God chose for me to be there that time. I don't know why up to this time. I asked God many times why I had to be there. I've never seen anything like that. It was very life-changing for me as well. But we thank God for sustaining you and the boys, and for this far He has brought you, as painful as it has been and as life-changing as it has been. And thank you for encouraging us, and thank you for being such an inspiration. And we pray that God will continue to sustain you, continue to strengthen you, so continue to give you that love and strength to encourage others, and just with the hope of knowing that tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday. And we thank Kefa and his memories, and we thank God for you and your children, and we pray that you keep on that resilience, and thank you for keeping God first, and thank you for keeping faith and not forgetting God through tough times. And we just want to thank God, that God who gives strength beyond anything, who gives peace beyond anything, who gives love, to continue taking good care of you. And I just leave you with a verse of Psalm 91 for God to continue looking over you and his angels to surround you with your family. In
Amen.
Jesus' name. Thank you so much, Sister Christine. Thank you for everything. We know this was not an easy thing for you, but we are so grateful that you shared it with us. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. Thank you, everyone.
Oh yeah, and we have a small gift for you and for the kids. They're from Upya TV. Thank you so much, friends. We can't cook for you, but we thought maybe you might like what the Kefa said. Maybe I'm sure he would like you to have that.
Oh, he would. Absolutely.
They're like, we don't know what to cook. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And something for the kids. God bless you so much, Sister Christine. Thank you so much. That's all, friends. We hope you've been encouraged, and we hope whatever you're going through, may God give you strength. May God give you peace. May God bless you. If you want to reach Christine, if somebody wants to reach you just to talk to you, or maybe for counseling or for coaching, can you please share your information with them, and also how to get the book?
Okay, so the book, you can get the book off Amazon, My Life, My Legacy by Kefa Oduor. And so the Master Your Grief, we have a Facebook page, Master Your Grief. We run a 10-week grief class on helping people get through grief. And we have some grief talks that we're doing on a monthly basis. And we have one-on-one coaching as well. So feel free to reach us on masteryourgrief@gmail.com, or our number is 587-800-1898.
Say that number again.
+1, that's the area code. 587-800-1898. You can reach us on that number, on WhatsApp as well. And masteryourgrief@gmail.com.
masteryourgrief@gmail.com.
And on Facebook and on Instagram as well.
Okay, that's wonderful. And also, if you want to reach me, friend, if you want to share your story, if you want to inspire others, you can write to upyatv@gmail.com. We are Upya TV Reset on Facebook, on YouTube, Upya TV, and also the email address is that upyatv@gmail.com. Thank you so much, friend. We hope you're blessed. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. God bless you. Bye. Till next time.
Bye. Thank you.